Switch 2!
I'm up. I woke up to a lot of messages today. My phone exploded. Nintendo finally officially announced the Switch 2. It is exactly like we all thought it was going to look. This is good though. I think it does look good. I can't help but think that the leaks did kind of ruin the announcement a little bit. This would have been a much bigger deal if we didn't know what it was going to look like. Everyone was sort of expecting an announcement today. I had a video ready to go on some of these Game Boy clone consoles, but I'm going to post that tomorrow. When Nintendo makes a huge announcement like this, it's all anybody wants to watch, think, or talk about. And I went back and forth about making a video on this because the trailer is 2 minutes and 21 seconds, and it's not very exciting. But the reason it's not very exciting is because we've seen what this looks like already. If you've been paying attention, this is exactly what the leaks were. Back in September, a mock-up of the design leaked. I made a video way back then. That was the last time I reported on Nintendo Switch 2 rumors, because nothing changed since then. I rewatched that video and pretty much everything is the same. But now we get the finish, the colors, the dock, yada yada. There's some other stuff too that I think it ends up warranting a video. Right off the rip, they're showing that it's bigger, and I like how they show it. It's easy to tell just how much bigger it is. I guess the finish is different. I don't know why we need to make a big deal about that. It looks rougher, whereas the last Switch had like a smooth finish. USB-C ports on the top and bottom. I don't think that was in the video back in September, but this was reported on recently. I think this is a necessity these days. A lot of these PC handhelds have been coming out with 2 USB-C ports. It can be really frustrating to need to charge the device and also have a peripheral plugged in of some kind. Kickstand's looking a little flimsy. The OLED Switch kickstand. Look at how big and beefy this thing is. Look at that. I think I just broke the back of it. Because of the way they did this video, you can see that the buttons are bigger, which is very welcome. I think that the original Switch's buttons might be the smallest face buttons in any Nintendo console. I cannot think of any that are smaller. People are understandably upset that we still do not have an actual D-pad. We still have these buttons. But you know what? That's just so that you can play with a sideways Joy-Con. It's not often that you end up playing that way, but it is cool to have an extra controller just in case. There's also this extra button down here, which I don't think was reported back in September, but it was reported a lot recently. In a lot of other mock-ups, it had a big ol' C on it. This one does not have the C. A lot of people were wondering what the C stand for. Now it doesn't seem like it matters. And we still don't know what it is. A lot of people are saying an extra share button. That doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you put an extra share button on the right Joy-Con, but not an extra home button on the left Joy-Con? The home button is a much more important button. I actually like the way that it looks. I like the idea of the colors. I like having a nice black finish. If there were 2 options, I probably would go for the black one just because all of the consoles in my living room are black. But the accents are a nice touch. Now, it was rumored that there were going to be 2 SKUs when this thing launches, and I think everybody assumed that meant that there would be 2 different colors. It was rumored that there were even going to be black and white ones. I don't know where those rumors are coming from. Maybe they saw the black ones and just assumed there would be a white one. The original Switch came with 2 SKUs. There was the gray Joy-Con and then there was the neon Joy-Con. This seems to be all of them together. So I don't know if there's going to be 2 SKUs. We also get a very good look here at what is the optical sensor. This was much debated over the past week or two. What the hell is this thing? Some people thought it was an infrared sensor. That very clearly looks like what you would see on the bottom of a mouse. Sorry, that was me. That wasn't your computer disconnecting something. I was very confused with this when this leaked a few weeks ago. Why a mouse sensor in the left Joy-Con? I thought this might be a vitality sensor. It looks like what would have been in the Wii vitality sensor. And you know, Nintendo likes to do their health and fitness stuff. I also thought, how could that be a mouse? It's in the left Joy-Con. What are you gonna use the mouse with your left hand? Turns out it looks like it is also in the right Joy-Con. Yeah, there it is. And then later in the trailer, you see them moving around like mice. Both of the Joy-Con. Although they do seem to be in a little grip. I'm not sure if that's necessary for you to use it like a mouse. I don't know. That is very strange. I really didn't believe that these could be mice. But I guess that's the big gimmick here. If everybody was wondering why this looks so much like the Switch 1 and why there's no wacky Nintendo gimmicks going on here, that's your gimmick. Some people were speculating those sensors could be IR sensors for like Wii game compatibility. That doesn't make much sense because they're facing this way. Maybe you can get a Joy-Con grip that points it straight. Doesn't look like that's the case. Also, this sort of optical sensor is a really short throw sensor, like millimeters. And it looks like the little doohickey that they go into have a little hole on the bottom, where the optical sensor does sit flush on the ground. The click sound is way different now, and I guess it has to be because it's magnetic. I like that it's magnetic. I think that's pretty cool. The logo, it's a little uneven. You're not going to be able to unsee that now. I guess if you've been paying attention to the leaks, the most exciting thing here is we get an extremely brief look at what is most likely Mario Kart 9. I'm not too familiar with Mario Kart. I mean, I've played it, but they're all the same to me. Some people on Twitter pointed out that the way that the starting point is structured, there might be 24 players because of all these little starting points here. I guess that's what that means. Which I guess is cool. If you're not going to change much about the graphics, then you're going to need to add something else like that. Mario looks a little different. That's what kind of sold me on this being a new Mario Kart. Was he like puffing up his cheeks there? But also, if you look closely, Donkey Kong. That is not Donkey Kong. Who is that? That's like the movie Donkey Kong. I guess they're straight up changing what Donkey Kong looks like. Actually, I just realized this. At the end of the trailer, you see for a brief second more racers. So I see 15, and there's a 16th popping in at the end there. There's 16 racers. So I guess there is a lot more players that are going to play at once. The next big thing is the dock. This was also rumored. The curve that we have here, the fact that it's a little shorter than the screen. It does seem to be taller than a lot of the leaks suggested. It also looks like in the Joy-Con grip, you'll be able to take the Joy-Con out a lot easier. The only other functionality detail that we got here is that it's going to be backwards compatible with original Switch 1 games, which we've known about for years. They already said years ago they wanted to make the next Nintendo Switch backwards compatible, both with digital games and physical games. They wanted to have a unified account system so you could bring your stuff over. That would have been really upsetting if they didn't do that in the year 2025. It would be like Nintendo to lock your purchases on the last console, but I'm glad they're changing with the times. It does say certain games may not be supported or fully compatible. So I don't know what that means. I'd imagine almost everything is going to be supported and fully compatible. This does not seem to have the same sort of IR sensor that the original Switch has. Almost no games use that. Wood has a video showing all of the games that use the IR sensor, and it's not a lot. But we don't know anything else about the Switch 2 other than it's coming out in 2025. We don't know about HD Rumble. Bob, what are your thoughts on this portion? Do you think it's going to be a failure part, or do they have some trick that maybe a pivot like a game certain? I think that it'll be fine. I have to admit, when the Switch first came out, I was worried that this was going to be a point of failure because you're constantly detaching and attaching the Joy-Con. I mean, even on a DS, I was afraid that the hinge would be a point of failure, and it was to some extent, but I never hear anybody breaking the hinges off of their Switches. I'm sure some dumb kids are going to break that little spot in the Joy-Con, but I mean, the whole outside is made so that it'll only fit if that little bar is perfectly centered with the hole it's got to go into. I think that'll be totally fine. I don't think you have to worry about that. Disagree. This is a lackluster reveal, period. Nothing new except Mario Kart. The most exciting part is new DK design. That's literally it. Didn't show off the new mouse feature leak. They literally did. They did show that. You all saw it, right? Switch 1 trailer showed Breath of the Wild. Well, you're getting Mario Kart 9, and you'll be happy. And you're going to buy it anyway. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had a 52% attach rate on the original Nintendo Switch. I didn't even play that game. I had it. We know nothing of the specs or what this thing's going to be capable of. I'm not too surprised we don't know that. Nintendo never talks about their internal hardware. But if all the other speculation was true, I'd imagine that the speculation about the internal hardware is probably true too. Let me get my whiteboard. This is a collection of rumors we've been gathering on the podcast, and I think everything here is true so far. Magnetic Joy-Con, 8-inch display, March 2025 launch. That is actually not true. That's the first thing that is not true. So whoever this is, axe them. They're incorrect. Black and white Joy-Con, I'll say we don't know that for sure yet. We don't know if there's going to be another colorway before this thing launches. Slightly larger, yeah, that's pretty safe. Dual screen is definitely the wackiest one, because we've seen so much information already and it's very clearly just one single screen. But there's a theory that that extra button that's on the Joy-Con might be a cast button. You might press that button to sling whatever's on your Nintendo Switch to the dock that is attached to your TV. Now that could act as a second screen as well. This is the wildest theory I've heard, but I actually kind of like it, because that would mean that 3DS games and DS games would be backwards compatible. That means Wii U games would have backwards compatibility. Not physical, because you can't put a disc in this thing, but there's possibility that they'll add this stuff either to Nintendo Switch Online or they'll just have them available on the eShop. That's the wildest theory, and I wish there was a gimmick like that we could take from this trailer that we got. That would be a little more exciting. Extra buttons on the back. Pretty sure it's just one button, and that's pretty obviously to release the magnetic Joy-Cons. So I don't think that really counts. Some things we still have yet to see. 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, which is not a lot these days. But remember, the original Nintendo Switch came with 32. So it is a lot for Nintendo. Also, Nintendo is really good at compressing all of their games. Their biggest game is Tears of the Kingdom, and it's 16 gigabytes. Mic in controller and console. In both doesn't make much sense. In the controller, that makes a lot of sense, just like it is on like a PlayStation 5 controller. $400. We don't have a price yet. It could go up to friggin' $500, but $400 sounds like a safe bet. And of course, Thursday the 16th launch, you got to give it to Nate the Hate. He was right. The ninjas are going to show up at his door. I fear for his life, but God bless. All right, I've already gone on so long about a 2-minute trailer, but I guess there's a lot of rumors that I haven't talked about since September, so I'm getting it all out now. They also announced that there's going to be a Direct on the Switch 2 in April 2nd on Wednesday. That's so long from now. I'm gonna need some more information by then. I'd imagine there'll be some more leaks by then. There's also gonna be events where you can, I guess, go and see the Switch 2. And in New York, that will be April 4th to the 6th. You can register if you have a Nintendo account, and that registration goes up. You know what? I had it on my phone. I was looking up pasta. There it is. Okay. Registration will open January 17th at around 3 p.m. Eastern time. So tomorrow, oh God. You need to have a Nintendo account, and whenever Nintendo does this sort of stuff, it's extremely limited. Now, there are a lot of different locations all over the world where this is going to happen, but New York is the very first one, and I'd imagine it would be more or less impossible to get a ticket to go to this thing. Now, I went to a little reveal event of the original Nintendo Switch way back in January of 2017. I guess that makes sense because the original Switch was revealed in October the previous year. And you know what? That trailer was a little cooler than this one. There was a lot more going on. But there's no official release date. 2025 is all that we get. People were speculating it would be released around April or May. I think I have that written down on the board. Oh, we have March. I was expecting April, maybe late April, but there's events to go preview it all the way until May. So that would be actually June. Also, PAX East is in May in Boston. I would imagine that Nintendo will have something there too. They're usually there. And if they're not there, I'm sure other companies will be showing off their Nintendo Switch 2 games. I'm not at all upset that it looks very similar to the original Switch. I think the upgrade is a good thing. Now, the big question here is whether or not we're going to be getting games in actual 4K or not. In my last video on this, I said that I would be surprised if they used 4K in any of the marketing at all. and so far they haven't. About a week or two ago, Nintendo filed a patent for their own sort of AI upscaling. So anybody who says that this thing's going to have DLSS is only a little wrong, because it's Nintendo's own version of DLSS. And the way the patent looked, it seemed like it was for original Switch games, because the patent specifically showed upscaling from 540p up to 1080p. And a lot of Nintendo Switch games, like I think Super Mario Odyssey, renders internally at only 540p. So wanting to AI upscale those makes a lot of sense. But the patent does specifically say this includes games that go from 1080p all the way to 4K as well. But I just can't see the rumored internals of this thing getting 4K in most games at all. There was a rumor that they were showing off Breath of the Wild running in 4K 60 at some event last year, and I believe that. But I think Nintendo did a lot of tomfoolery to get it running in that way. I don't think you're going to be playing Doom in 4K on this thing. I think you'll be playing like Tetris in 4K on this thing, and that's pretty much it. Just like how the PlayStation 5 runs in 8K technically, and there's one damn game that runs in 8K on that thing. A lot of people have been saying recently that this is going to have the power of a PlayStation 4 Pro. I also think that's a ridiculous thing to say, because this is a Nintendo Switch 2, it's not a PlayStation. Also, so much has changed since the days of the PlayStation 4 Pro. Technology has shifted. There's much more tools with game development, where game developers can get their games running better on weaker hardware. So equating this to a console that has already existed is really hard to do and doesn't really matter. The GameCube to the Wii, there was almost no power difference there at all. They were basically the same console, and the Wii is one of the best-selling consoles of all time. There was also almost no power difference between the Wii U and the Switch is one of the best-selling consoles of all time. People think this will suffer the same fate as the Wii U did because it's so similar to the previous console. I'd like to equate this to the DS to the 3DS. Those were extremely similar, but also a much bigger improvement in terms of the graphics of the games. Look, I'm a hardware guy. I like playing around with all these different handhelds. I've been loving PC handhelds lately because of the versatility they provide me. I can play them on my computer. I can play them on the device itself. There's also just a lot of power in this little form factor. I like that stuff. This will not be as powerful as a lot of the PC handhelds we'll be seeing coming out this year as well. But I think it's pretty cool. I think Nintendo makes really good hardware. Even if it's not powerful, at least it's cool looking and feeling. It's a premium piece of tech that is going to be really cool. And the games on it are going to be really cool. And developers are going to want to develop specifically for this thing. And the games are going to be optimized for it. If you like your Steam Deck, this thing's not going to beat your Steam Deck. But most people don't have a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck only sold, I think the last sales numbers we saw was 3 million units. That was, I think, a year ago. The Nintendo Switch around the same time sold 120, million units. So most people aren't looking at this going, oh, my Steam Deck's better. Most people don't even know that a Steam Deck is a thing. This is for the mainstream, and I think the mainstream is really going to appreciate this. I think I'm going to like it. I'm still going to play all these other things that I have, but I think this is cool. I want to see more games, and I want to see more of what this thing's capable of. Let me know what's going to happen when I plug this thing into my TV. Let me know how that mouse works. I'm very interested in all of this. I've been talking for way too long. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. At me on Twitter. Come to a live stream sometime. That's the easiest way to chat. I'm going to have a video up, I think, tomorrow on these Game Boy clones. Thanks for watching. I didn't have any sponsors, so here's a coffee cup. Buy it.